Hello, my little love bugs. This is issue 71 and the second episode of season 5, and this is Titular Characters. As usual, I am your stunningly gorgeous host, Eva Webb, and today we're talking anti-fascist comics with John Luzar. John is the writer behind Marguerite versus the Occupation, Mine, and The Worth and Cost for the Resistance comics, and blogs about politics under a mask as a shower cap. Hey, John. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Eva. How are you?
I'm great. So I understand you have this beautiful anti-fascist comic that's on Kickstarter. Can you tell me about it?
Well, we're actually live on Kickstarter right now through August 19th, I believe. The book is called Marguerite versus the Occupation. It is certainly anti-fascist, as we do mess up a few Nazis in this book. It's about a young French woman named Marguerite who fled her home when France fell. We're at the end of the war now, and she's so excited to come home that she sneaks out, and because she wants to be there. At the moment, her home is liberated, and when she gets there, she discovers that there's actually a Nazi machine gun crew set up, not just in her house, but in the very bedroom where she grew up as a child. And
Wow.
what ensues?
Wow. So, you had a pretty good team on that one. What was the collaboration like?
It was really exciting on this one. We actually did the script Marvel style. So rather than writing out individual panel descriptions for Casey, we did a looser script that allowed for more creativity and more freedom on his end, which he seemed to enjoy. And I'm still pretty new to this, but the back and forth and just the simple sense of collaboration that kind of wasn't there on the first couple of books I've tried. It was just really energizing and exciting on this one. I'm really grateful for the way it turned out.
So when you say Marvel style, you mean in particular the Marvel method?
Yes.
And that's where you have just sort of a loose outline where you don't really, do you specify any dialogue or do you not? How's that work?
We had just very, very little, some small hints of dialogue in this pass is actually, which was actually very, very deliberate for me anyway. This time around, I'm still very much learning my craft, and one of the things that appealed to me about working this way was that it would kind of force me to stop trying to control the story with dialogue and captions, because that's a bad habit that I needed to break after my first couple of books. And we didn't actually add the dialogue until the art was completely finished this time, which I think was it's the way to go. I definitely enjoyed it more than the full script style that I've worked on before.
So what makes collaboration memorable in general?
Collaboration in general. I mean, there's nothing like seeing. God, it's so hard to describe. I spent most of my life doing theater. That's actually where I met Jason Fleece. And the collaboration is so different there, just in that we're the artists are largely in the room together creating the work, kind of every night that you're working on it. Whereas in comics, there's or at least as I'm discovering so far, you kind of you talk things out, and then you go back to your separate corners and do your own work. But just seeing something that's there's it's part of you and it's part of these other people who brought their own originality and creativity to the work. And y'all just got mashed up together and it comes out different than anything you had in your head, and better and so much more specific than what you had in your head. It's just I don't know, it's just really exciting. I really enjoy it.
So when you give up a certain level of control, like implementing the Marvel method there, does the artist ever surprise you with something you just completely weren't expecting?
Oh yeah, definitely. Even working full script, that happens. And gosh, I remember one page in particular. The way Casey laid it out, it was just it was not at all what I had in my mind. It's the one with that big, long page height vertical panel that we use in all the advertising of Marguerite looking up at the house, and it's just so, I mean, it is a beautiful panel, but it's also so effective in just laying out the geography of the story, but also the enormity of the problem she faces. And I'm just kind of in awe of Casey, who has these visual storytelling instincts that I really don't. So it's thrilling, is what it is.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
yes, it is.
so what's your origin story? I think you touched on it a little bit, but how did you end up here?
How did I end up here? Like a lot of folks, I've been a lifelong comics fan, and just always in the back of my mind, I wanted to try it. But there's the fear element, and you kind of put it off and put it off. I took some classes at Comics Experience where I got a really nice, really great, really useful set of fundamentals that made me feel a little bit more prepared than I would have otherwise. And then just finally took the plunge. Just been, I've been writing this little political humor blog for almost 4 years now, and kind of figured it's a political audience. I would try to write some political stories to pitch to that audience as I'm starting out. When you're building the audience one reader at a time, which we definitely are. And yeah. Just kind of taking what I've picked up here and there and seeing what we can do with it, getting a little better each time out, I hope.
Is there an emotional place you like to create from?
Oh gosh. That's kind of, I mean, yes, definitely yes. But one of the things that's interesting about that is kind of shaping the emotional place that you're going to tell this particular story from, which I do a lot with music. You sort of, I know a lot of people do this, but I sort of, a playlist comes together as you're as you're laying out the story, and it you add to it, and for me it just helps me sort of stay focused in a kind of emotional mood that I want to cultivate for it. This one was also a little wound up a little angrier than the first couple of books, and that was interesting to just poke around with and explore. And that's it's just fun. It's different. I'm kind of babbling, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
So how do you get from a place where you have a sort of a rough idea to a place where that rough idea sort of takes form and becomes a product that you can show and sell and talk about?
I'm still figuring that out, definitely, but it's or at least I, kind of, they're just you lock in on one specific and see where that takes you, and then you lock in on another and another and another and another. Like on this one, on Marguerite, the whole thing started from at a certain level, from an exercise point of view, because I need to learn to write action, right? Because I haven't done it before.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first things that got locked in was the notion of a protagonist crossing a no man's land. And originally, this thing was set on an alien planet, and it was an old woman and her husband, and very needlessly complex. But when I stumbled across the World War II setting, that led to this idea of the gun in the bedroom, which I got really excited about really quickly, because it just struck me as a really evocative, invasive image that you could build a story around. And then it was like building on that to, like, okay, if there's a gun in a bedroom, whose bedroom could it be, and what would it look like to get the gun out, and that answering those questions is kind of how the story ended up solidifying, if that makes sense.
Is this your third or fourth comic?
This is the third comic.
That's awesome. So I think now you sort of have the experience of not just creating a book, but getting out there and getting your hands dirty and marketing a book. Is the experience of doing that different than you thought it would be?
Yes, yes. It's big, and it's something I've been kind of intimidated by. I mean, the whole time I spent as an actor, I was really I really avoided this at all costs. So it's been very uncomfortable. But yeah, it's so interesting because with the exception of one group in college, like, I've never participated in fandom, like socially or on social media or in groups. It's just I love comics, but I've just always talked about them with my close friends, at bars and stuff. So reaching out to folks, it's everybody is so different in terms of what they get out of comics and what they want to talk about. And this interview is very, very different from the show on Wednesday, and it's it's different. But everybody loves comics, and they love different things about comics, and they get excited about your book, that but from different angles. Does that make sense?
Totally. I love those guys at Not Near Mint. They are some of my best friends, and they're just lovely, silly, weird people.
Yeah, and just like that kind of, like, sit around, shoot the shit, laugh, and tell these big jokes about comics. Like it's just a different experience than I ever had before. But it's fun, and I can only assume there's going to be just dozens and dozens of different types of folks out there that I haven't even discovered yet. So,
oh yeah,
onwards and upwards.
I'm the esoteric art podcast of the comics world.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. All for it. All for it.
So how do you make a story memorable? What makes a great comic?
Boy, I'm definitely still figuring that out. There's a really the process of making, particularly the first couple of comics, is very humbling. Just in terms of, because like everybody else is a fan for 20 years, and you're a snob, and like this writer doesn't know how to do anything, and you sit down and try to do their job. It's a million times harder than you ever thought.
It is.
So, I'm, yeah, but what makes a comic memorable? I've been kind of trying to think about that, and and it brings me back to just the moment when you turn a page and something just hits you that you weren't expecting, or maybe that you were expecting, and it's better or more exciting, or more moving than you even expected. But that's definitely part of it. I know storytelling in general is about those two or three memorable moments that the rest of everything else is just there to get you there. As for how it works in comic, I just remember way back in the day, like turning to that last page of Astonishing X-Men. I think it was #1. It might not have been, but when Colossus was alive and you weren't expecting it and it hadn't leaked, and it was just, oh shit, I want this so much, and the panel was so beautiful. That's part of it. I don't know. I'm still digging for that answer. I'll let you know when I figure it out, though.
Yeah, please do. And maybe next time you come back, you'll have like this.
I will have comics 100% figured out by then. I promise.
Excellent.
I will know everything.
So, what's your thought? How do you approach inclusion and representation in your work?
Ooh. That's tricky. I'm still very. I did spend most of my first 40 years on Earth in a world where the default setting is white guys like me. It's tricky because you want to. Personally, where I'm at with it is, like, I want to be respectful, and I'm just I'm very cautious because sometimes I don't know if I've like listened enough or learned enough to try to pick up somebody else's voice or try to tell somebody else's story, speak for somebody else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's definitely something that I want to keep my eye on, but again, this is another one I just don't have the answers yet on that. It's one of the things I'm hoping to be exploring now and going forward.
So, speaking of exploring, how does world building work for you?
World building is something that is 100% new to me as a writer. It's kind of an exciting new toy. Again, like coming from theater, like 99 times out of 100, you are in the real world. Like maybe it's the past, maybe it's a really specific class or religion or something like that. But the fantasy and science fiction elements they're much less common in the world I came from. So yeah, it's a whole. At first, like everything, I'm like, but at first it was very intimidating. Like, what do I know about this? I've never even thought about this. But God, it's so fun. The first couple of books were science fiction books, and there's something so exciting about the freedom to create a world with any rules, and then seeing what effect those rules have on the people that live in your world. Again, this is still it's a wad of putty I've only just started to play around with.
So where do your characters find their voices?
Where do they find their voices? Boy, I don't know. I mean, in the case of Marguerite, it's mostly in finding the impetus to act. Golly, I don't know. That's something I haven't even thought about. Everybody. Everybody starts out as me. At a certain stage, you know what I mean? Because that's all I know. I'm the only person I've ever been. And just because that's that especially when I'm blocked, I go back to me because like what would I do? Because that's the only thing I can really imagine fully. And then you just kind of figure out how they're different. And again, you make a couple choices and stick them in the world, stick them in a situation, and see what they do.
Awesome. So, do you have a favorite single issue, story, or comic book title of all time?
I don't know about single issue. I'm real. It would probably be a tie between 6 or 7 Astro Cities over the years.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm real fond of that book. Kurt Busiek's one of my favorites. Brings a lot of wonderful human depth to these great silly worlds that I've loved playing around in so long.
So what are you reading now?
Gosh, reading lots of stuff. Trying to keep up on who's doing what and what's out there. Caught up on my stack a little bit this afternoon. I read that Green Arrow 80th anniversary 100-page special that they put out a couple weeks ago. That was great. I got so many.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I got so many blind spots in DC read. That's what I'm doing a lot of, actually. I've got the app, and it feels like I get to break into a comic store and read everything for free. I've been
wonderful.
Yeah, it's so cool. I've been reading the Tom King Batman. That's great. I read the question, the Denny O'Neil question. I started that when he passed, and that's really really amazing stuff. Just started the J.M. DeMatteis Dr. Fate, which is all trippy and weird and 80s DC magic spirituality. Fantastic. Liking that so far. Yeah.
When was the last time a comic book made you cry?
Ooh. The last I cry a lot. I'm a mushy guy.
Okay.
Yeah. The I was reading this not too long ago. The JSA book, I guess, it's pretty old now, I guess, but James Robinson and Jeff Johns and David Goyer. The Our Man subplot in that. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Like it's fantastic comics, science fiction kind of stuff. The modern age Our Man gets an hour in this floating laboratory in limbo with his dead father, that he gets to, like, he can use the hour however he wants, and Oh, it's just that's such a great that's such a great fantasy, and they really play with it so well. Just the father son stuff and the way they wring the ending out of it gets to me. Gets to me. Good stuff.
Awesome. Is there anybody that strikes you as either the most underrated or most inspiring creator in comics?
Ah, gosh, right now I'm like now that I'm trying to figure it out. Anybody who's made anything is pretty inspiring to me right now. Um, Underrated. I mean, I don't know how people rate stuff. I feel like Jeff Parker should be writing everything. He's got such a great sense of character and how to explore it using these fantastic situations. Like Peter David, but he doesn't seem to get the credit. Really, just always liked his work.
Peter David's awesome.
Peter David is super. That was the when I was, all the years that I was like, I should write comics someday, but I don't know. I'd try to read books about writing comics, and his was the first one I came across, and it's fantastic. Really, really good stuff.
He's just a really talented writer, and I'm not just saying that because I want him to come on my show eventually, even though I totally do. Um,
Well,
but
go ahead.
but it's not just comics. His Star Trek books are the best in just anywhere in the whole category. He's just amazing. I totally respect him.
He and he he makes it seem so easy.
He does.
I just get the feeling that he dashes off these great stories with great characters growing in ways that interest and move you, and then he just plays table tennis the rest of the day because it just doesn't seem that hard for him. He's fantastic. Yeah, he's real good.
Yeah, right on. So,
Yeah,
John, it looks like we're coming up against the end of the show. Are you ready for the fun part?
I'm always ready for the fun part.
All right. So, what song are you walking down the runway to?
So am I walking down the runway to?
Yep,
Can't Keep Johnny Down by They Might Be Giants.
love it. Is there a which Ninja Turtle do you see yourself as?
Oh, I'm Donatello, definitely.
Nice. If you had a Batman-like utility belt, what are some of the things you would put in it?
Well, chapstick, and probably 6 or 7 because I lose them. Pens. Obviously, the Batarang gets a lot of mileage. That seems to be working out for him. So I'll defer to the master on that.
Sweet.
Um, yeah, that seems like a good start.
What inspires you?
Like more more or less everything. Um, I it's I don't know, like every story, song, every conversation I take in, there's just every human being is so interesting and has such a unique story to tell that everybody could learn something from. So like, yeah, everything, everyone.
Nice. Do you have a set criteria that you look for in a minion or sidekick?
In a minion or a psych, patience. That's the one I think.
Nice. Where do you find joy?
Oh gosh. Um, I like being surprised. I like that. that moment when you turn the page and you see something that you didn't expect to be there, or you did, and it's satisfying. Yeah, that's where it's at. I'm a storytelling junkie.
Nice. Okay, so you're fighting on the Avengers the day that Thanos happens to come down with the Infinity Gauntlet. He's standing on top of a mountain. You're fighting him. You're losing very, very badly. It's not even funny how badly you're losing. But just as he's about to snap your fingers, he happens to be just as he's sorry. Let me try that again. But just as he's about to snap his fingers, he's standing right in front of you. And luckily for everybody, before he can wipe out half of reality with a click, he falls dead of a heart attack, which puts you in immediate possession of the Infinity Gauntlet. You now have the ability to change reality to your whim. What's the first thing you decide to do with it?
Well, I'd calm this damn country down a little bit, I suppose, if I had that kind of power. Go back and fix a couple mistakes. Stop. couple of bad decisions I wouldn't mind getting back. But yeah, I think a little calmness and common sense at first, serving all around.
Nice. So, what's next for John Luzar?
Well, the plan, I tell you, is it's just to keep making comics until somebody notices. Again, we're building the audience one reader at a time, which is it's daunting, but it's been fun so far. We've got Jason and I are working on another one shot that's in a totally different direction. Something kind of silly and fun and superhero-y, which I've always wanted to do. And then we're hoping to graduate to some longer projects. Take what I've hopefully figured out on these last couple of rounds and keep learning, exploring, getting better, and telling more stories.
Well, John, I wanted to take a second to thank you for being on and just making the time to be on my humble little podcast.
Hey, thanks so much for making the time to have us on. I appreciate the hell out of it. This has been fun.
Awesome. So, where can people find you online?
Twitter's probably the best way. I am at Cap Shower. And you can also check out showercapblog.com if you are in the mood for some political shenanigans, though it is not comic book related, or not terribly comic book related. I do pretend to be a superhero, but that's another story.
And now it's time to close the show. Imagine it. The lights beginning to come on in an empty theater. People starting to get up from their seats. The smell of popcorn crushed on the floor. And the thought runs through your head that Titular Characters is awesome, and you want to support it. Fear not, my friends. There are tons of ways to do it. You can follow Eva at Eva is Adorable on Twitter. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Castbox, or Podcast Addict. And if you're feeling super generous, you can leave some dough at buymeacoffee.com/Eva is Adorable. There, you can contribute as little as $1. And every bit goes towards paying for production and hosting of this show. How cool is that? Titular Characters is a show about the things we love. It is produced and hosted by the adorable Eva Webb. Opening theme by Antonia Marquis. Closing theme by Mikey Flash of Speed Force Music. The dreamy announcer guy who reads the credits is Donnie Underwood. That's me. Join us next time for another death-defying adventure in cyberspace. See you then!